What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Zero to ChatGPT Hero. Last episode, we hit a massive power spike. Dragon Scimitar, Dragon Defender, Diaries, Ava's Device. The account is finally starting to come together. But now, we're switching things up. Episode 12 is all about building the foundation. ChatGPT had a thing for skilling minigames with this episode's task list. We've got Tempoross, Wintertodt, Guardians of the Rift, Mahogany Homes, just to name a few. By the end of this episode, this account is going to look completely different. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up, we're getting that weekly passive XP gain in Tears of Guthix, and let me tell you, this might be a spoiler, but I've learned this episode that I want this experience to always go to herb lore moving forward. All right, let's go hit up the trawler and hope we get spooned for an angler outfit. Yo, let's go, second KC. Yo, there ain't no way. Back-to-back 2 pieces and 3 KC. We're cooking. Yo, let's go. That's 3 pieces and 12 KC. Let's go. Dude, this is the best place to get spooned because this is terrible content. That only took us 27 KC. So let's go off to Tempoross now, get a ton of permits, and hopefully get a ton of food that we can utilize for 70 cooking later in the episode. All right, there's 50 permits complete. Now let's go get some pulls in and hope that we get ourselves a water tome.
Collection log slot?
That is not the collection log that we're after there, Jagex. If you're gonna spoon me, at least spoon me with the item that I want, you know? All right, let's go do Temple of the Eye so we can do some Guardians of the Rift. And honestly, I've kind of been looking forward to this. I genuinely enjoy Guardians of the Rift. I've got 1k KC on my main. Still not green logged, by the way. But it's just good for this account in the long run. We'll truly set ourselves up with runes. We'll save a lot of GP, and it's not really going to be a worry moving forward now. All right, there's Temple of the Eye complete. Now let's go get ourselves 75 pulls from the rewards chest. What's seconds for y'all is literal hours for me. All right, about 10 hours of gameplay later, there's 75 reward pools. So let's go get spooned a lantern.
Collection log slot completed.
Damn, no lantern, no dye, no needle, no locket. We didn't get any clogs there outside of some pearls. That is rough. But we are set up with runes here. So rune stack's looking pretty juicy. We are set for some magic training moving forward. Quick little birdhouse detour in order to get 4,500. And in preparation for the next task, we did a ton of AFK wood cutting to get ourselves some logs for Veil Totems. I'm thankful in the sense that Veil Totems makes fletching so much faster, but this is just so mundane and so boring. All right, there's 5k Veil offerings. Now let's go get ourselves a fletching knife, please, before Wintertodt. Oh, let's go right off the rip. This is going to make Wintertodt so much more bearable. Now it's time to put this knife to work at Wintertodt. For those that don't know, the fletching knife makes fletching logs 1 tick faster, so it makes Wintertodt so much better. And there's 50 supply crates. Well, we couldn't get Spoon the Water Tome earlier, so surely we get the Fire Tome this time, right?
log slot completed. Collection log slot completed.
Bruh, all we got from that was gloves. I mean, that's a ton of magic logs, but there's not really anything here that we need. And really, there's not even that many fish to cook. So as we segue into our next task of 70 cooking, I don't think we have enough fish to get this. So we're going to have to get creative here. All right, so next we cooked a ton of fish. And as predicted, we ran out of fish before we got 70 cooking. So now we got to get creative. And we're going to do something, I guess you can say, unique or newer by picking sweet corn in Varlamore for two reasons. One, we're going to get a ton of sweet corn seeds for farming later. They pop up in farming contracts pretty frequently. And two, it's pretty free and easy cooking experience to get us to 60 cooking. And then once we get to 60 cooking, obviously, we're just going to do wines. In addition to sweet corn being free, it's also a 100% success rate. And if I wanted to, haven't decided yet, I could make tuna potatoes later, and that would be the best in-slot food that we could get for this point in time in our gameplay at a 22 hill. And as we were hopping away buying grapes, Jagex kindly gave us an update on leagues. Man, I'm so stoked for leagues this year. I cannot even begin to tell you. I've never not got Dragon Tier on League, so I really don't know what I'm going to do, if I'm going to pause this series or maybe make a League series, which would be my first non-ChatGPT type content. So we'll see what we're going to do there, but stay tuned. I think Jagex is really going to have a good one this year. All right, with that said, back to your regularly scheduled content and buying grapes. So we got the last of our grapes here. Now we're going to get some water jugs and then get going on filling these bad boys up and fermenting some grapes. We've got 3K grapes, 3K jugs of water. Now we're going to try to do this in one fell swoop. So hopefully my ADHD doesn't kick in and we don't mess up so we can see a massive XP drop at the end. Oh my God. Overshot that one a little bit there. I guess you don't fail fermenting wine that often. I only had one failure there. All right, so my calculations were a little wrong, but we've got a couple extra cooking levels. No big deal. Now it's off to Mahogany Homes. Because I'm going to expose myself here, I haven't been doing my herb runs, so we're not able to knock out our task of getting 45 herb lore yet. We're going to have to do sporadic farm runs as we go through the next couple tasks in order to get the herbs and get our 45 herb lore. So now that I've exposed myself as a terrible Iron Man, there's 25 contracts done. Let's move on to sailing. And we're going to use all the methods. We're going to use sea charting, courier task, salvaging, or courier task, if this guy ever gets out of my way. All leading up to the bane of my existence and Barracuda trials. But before we do that, we're going to upgrade our boat. In order to do that, we need some teak logs to turn into teak planks. Then we needed to spin some linen so we can loom into bolts of linen, grab some swamp paste, and then finally make some hull parts. And now we're ready for Temper Tantrum. But in the background, we've been doing our farm runs, so let's chip away at herb lore before we start that. Speaking of farm runs, there's 50 farming. And before we make prayer potions, we're going to go ahead and again apply some logic here and make some amulets of chemistry. That way we can ultimately do some higher end content with more prayer potions in the future. So we're going to make some prayer potions here. Then we're going to go to Lumbridge and continue to train herb lore with some energy potions. So we got to buy some chocolate, ground that, and then make our energy potions. All right, there's 42 herb lore, so we got to do some more farm runs. In the meantime, let's get back to sailing with the bane of my existence, Barracuda trials. The last time I did Temper Tantrum was on the day of release of sailing on mobile, so this is way different from what I remember. And I'll tell you, even on PC without losing any frames like we were on release day, I'm still not a fan of this. So before we move on to the Marlin trial, let's go do a herb run. All right, if you remember back in the early episodes, we got these things. Again, not going to try to pronounce it. So we're going to use them now to create botanical pies. That way we can start making some super attack potions. All right, there's 43 herb lore. Now it's back to my favorite content ever. It was also brought to my attention by my CC that there's now a plugin for Barracuda Trials that's supposed to give you the most optimal route. So we're going to try that out because I remember wanting to yeet my computer out the window and bash a hole through my keyboard. You know, not the biggest fan of this plugin, at least in this course, but we got the Marlin time nonetheless. Definitely on our first attempt too. Wink, wink. So let's go finish up sailing, then we'll go save the king, do a couple more farm runs, finish up herb lore, and then ultimately conclude this episode. All right, the Monkey King is saved. Let's go get ourselves some Addy Gloves, knock out 2 quick tasks here, and then finally, let's go finish up with our herb lore. Should be our last herb run here. Lesson learned from this episode: always do your herb runs. And finally, for the final touches on the episode, 44 and 45 herb lore. That's a wrap for episode 12. This episode was all about building the foundation, and we made some serious progress. We've got passive gains rolling in with birdhouses, farming, and Tears of Guthix that we're going to be able to hit once a week. We've got a solid skilling foundation across the board, and we are shaping up for a big push next episode. And trust me, episode 13 is where things start to get real. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want to help shape the series, you can join the Discord in the description below. With that said, I will see you next time on Zero to ChatGPT Hero.